Yo, what is going on, everyone? This is your host, Rashawn, and you are now tuned in to TARODCAST. If you are a new listener to TARODCAST and this is your first time visiting our show, welcome. If you are a returning listener and you're coming back for another dose of TARODCAST greatness, welcome back. At TARODCAST, you can take everything we say with a grain of salt. We simply just want to add some flavor to your meal. So if we're doing that, then we are doing our job. Today's episode comes from an experience that I had that really stuck out to me, and it's something that for me it makes me think about black cinema and black filmmaking and the stories that are told with black faces as a whole. So without further ado, today's topic is no more slave movies. This is TARODCAST. Let's get it. All right, everyone. Welcome back to TARODCAST. I am your host, Rashawn, and I am glad to be here with you all today. Chardonnay Rod had to go in and rest up a little bit, so you get regular Rashawn for this episode, but I look forward to bringing you an episode that for me has been very personal, and it's actually been a continuous conversation in my household. I also want to apologize because last week I was actually out of town, and so I didn't have the opportunity to record an episode, but we are back on track, back on schedule, and we've got some guests lined up as well for upcoming episodes. So I'm really excited about that, and I hope that you all are continuing to tune in. I really appreciate you all listening and continuing to entertain my outlandish opinions. It's, I really appreciate that more than you know. So today, we're talking about no more slave movies. And there is a mindset that I feel that I have more so grown to feel and grown to understand and grown to observe that is based on black cinema and black filmmaking and stories that typically star black actors and actresses. And you know what? I'm actually starting early. Let me go and take care of the housekeeping first, because I'm getting ahead of myself. As you can tell, I'm ready to go ahead and jump into this topic. So we're going to take care of the housekeeping first, and then we'll jump into the topic. So if you would like to take our show with you on the go, just know that we are on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Podchaser, Castbox, Podcast Addict, iHeartRadio, Deezer, and YouTube. TARODCAST is also on Throne. Throne is a free live messaging application that allows us here at TARODCAST to exclusively reach our listeners. Make sure to sign up if you'd like to keep the conversations going after the episode. If you're looking for natural oils for ultimate hydration and care for your hair and skin, hit up The Resilient Lotus at www.theresilientlotus.com. Also, if you are a lover of authentic chunky salsas, make sure to reach out to Morenitas Salsitas. And lastly, if you are in the field looking for someone to do your makeup, hit up Jazzed by Jackie. She does a really good job, and she actually just recently battled and overcame COVID-19. So I'm really proud of her, really thankful that she was able to make it out on the other side. So definitely hit her up, support her, and make sure that if you are looking to get your face done all the way up, hit up Jazz by Jackie. All this information, as always, will be in our show notes. All right, so we are going to talk about no more slave movies. And what I mean by this is the fact that for a lot of black actors and actresses and the concepts of movies and things like that we are typically exposed to nowadays, I've seen a lot of them that have to deal with slavery. Like that has become one of the things that is a surefire go-to when it comes to black cinema. And I think about the times during the 70s, the blaxploitation era, where we had like a lot of the Pam Griers and the Foxy Browns and, just the Shafts and the Superflies and all that, the blaxploitation era, where in the 70s we were exposed to a type of filmmaking that was very, very preachy. It was very campy, but also very preachy as well. And you would see these strong black characters who would, kick ass and take names. And, they during this time, they were more so trying to overthrow and overturn, like drug cartels and things like that. Things that were destroying families, destroying children, destroying cities. And, there was a specific central character that was integral in doing that. And so, you would see them walking around, cameras would zoom in really fast on their faces and things like that. They'd have phrases, and it was very campy. If you go back and watch a lot of that, it was very, very campy. But you would see that oftentimes the main villain or the main protagonist was always somebody who was wealthy, white, or a business owner. Typically all three put together behind, all the actions that are taking place at the ground level. And so, you saw a lot of movies like that where it was just like, all right, the black person, the almost jaded but still heroic black person taking on the drug cartel, or the wealthy white business owner, or the wealthy white madam who is just messing with people for her own entertainment, that kind of thing. And it's like you move forward throughout the decades and you start to see movies starring black actors and actresses evolving. And so I look at the 90s where for a lot of our movies, they were specifically centered around hood life. Now, when it comes to hood life, like this is my era of growing up. The 90s, that was my area. I've lived in the hood for, a long time. And so I know what that life is like. So, movies like Juice or Higher Learning or Boys in the Hood or Menace to Society or South Central, just movies like that where Friday, movies like that where the hood life is more so painted. I guess not necessarily Friday, because Friday is a little bit more comedy than actual like drama. But, the other movies I mentioned, those are some of the movies where, when it came to trying to document the black experience at that time, the cinema was focused on showing not only the reality, but the death of it, the life and death of what happens in these areas, and portraying a visual that was very true to life. And a lot of people of color can relate to these movies. And to me, I honestly think that these movies do have their place. They do have their place because as a genre of movie, I feel like these movies were accurate, albeit a lot of them were heartbreaking, like i.e. Boys in the Hood. Boys in the Hood, that I can only watch that movie in spurts because it's just like it hits my emotions. But it's when we think about the accuracy of these movies, it's like, yes, during this time, yes, this is what was happening in our neighborhoods. This is what was happening in our cities. This is what we were experiencing as a whole. And so I think, and I truly believe that these movies do have their place. And so as we continue to, evolve in cinema, one of the things that I would think or that I would expect to happen is that when it comes to the types of movies that star our actors and actresses, that they would evolve. And for a while they did kinda. And the thing is, when I say kinda, it's more of baby steps towards movies that are less about the experiences of life and more about situations or what ifs in these types of scenarios, things that actually go a little bit broader, things that could be a lot more lighthearted, things that can be a lot less heavy and preachy and, trying to shove a certain point of perspective down your throat. And these are the types of movies that I'm talking about. So, movies like, that came out like in the late 90s, early 2000s, like Deliver Us from Eva, one of my favorite movies. Two Can Play That Game. What else? The Best Man. And even its sequel that came out, a decade later. Such an awesome movie. What else? Just different movies like that where we're seeing different perspectives. I'm gonna think of some more here in a little bit, but Kingdom Come is another one. Just different movies where you start to see people in different situations, different slice of life situations, but at the same time, also black people being people and not necessarily having to be weighed by the burdens of being in the hood or the burdens of being in a society that is not accepting of them. We actually get to see black people being normal people. And that's one of the things that I feel that is really and severely lacking when it comes to black cinema, because I feel like the pain that we inherently feel as Black Americans is incredibly deeply ingrained in who we are. And so we're always looking for ways to show that pain. And the thing is, I feel like, and this is, again, take it with a grain of salt. Please take it with a grain of salt. But I feel like when it comes to our pain, we are, should I save this point for later? No, I'm going to say it now. I feel like we are always trying to show white people how much we are in pain and how much we are needing them to understand what they have done to us over the last few centuries. And I feel like that is where a lot of us are, because as we move out of like the mid 2000s and we start getting into the late 2000s, the early teens, we have movies like 12 Years a Slave and things like that. And the thing is, that movie, it was a movie that I couldn't even finish. I couldn't finish because it was too gut wrenching for me. I couldn't do it. And I remember just thinking about not only that movie, but just going all the way back into, just 40 something years ago, Roots even. And, just thinking about the fact that, when it comes to our history in this country, yes, slavery is one of the hugest components, if not the overall component that set the foundation for this country. And I think about the fact that we make so many movies about us being in pain. And the thing is, I get it. I understand that pain is a part of our story, but I don't want to keep seeing the same stories over and over again. I don't want to keep seeing the same thing being put into my face, because the thing is, we already know, as Black Americans, we already know the stories that are assimilated with this. We know what those stories are. We know how they sound. We know their outcome typically is never good. And so when I think about, slave movies, like even the one that Nate Parker did about Nat Turner, and, I think about slave movies, and I cringe, because why do we always continue going back to those days? I feel like at this point we want white people to feel so guilty that they become our slaves. They become our indentured servants. We move them through art and cinema, and they become our willing vessels to do everything that we want them to do with no pay, and the thing is, it's like at this point now, with all of the civil unrest that's going on right now, I feel like white people right now are in a position where it's just like they are very scared. They are very, very scared. And I can only imagine how many of us are going to take advantage of their fear, because right now we are in a very volatile spot in our history. And so I think about the cinema that's going to be produced even now, and the fact that even I heard that Will Smith is going to be either in or producing another slave movie, and I'm just like, come on. How many slave movies are we going to make? It's like, geez, how many movies about pain are we going to make? Like, are we really trying to push this guilt on white people so hard? Because we already, as black people, we already know the pain. We already feel it. We wake up with it every single day. And so having more movies about this is just draining to me at this point, because I said in the intro, there was an experience I had, and I'm going to go into that here in the second segment of the show. But I remember when I was dating my wife, we went and saw this movie called The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. And after watching that movie, it made me really second guess movies that had long titles, because I'd never given a movie with a long title before. But this movie starred Ben Stiller, and so I'm going to talk about this movie in the next segment here, because I want to talk about the type of cinema that I would like to see going forward for black actors and actresses. And this movie for me is the turning point when I really started paying attention to movies that were bigger in scale and didn't take themselves too seriously, and made you actually feel good about yourself. So I hope you all have your water close by. Make sure to take a sip, and we will be right back. This is TARODCAST. TARODCAST. I like how that sounds. Anyway, we'll be right back. Yo, what's good, everyone? This is your host of TARODCAST, Tarod Rashan, and I just want to welcome you to the commercial break. Now, you already know what time it is. It's hydration time. Get some high-quality H2O in your system now. Got a few things I'd like to go over. First, to all of our new and returning listeners, thank you so much for your ear and your time. To all of our Patreon supporters, I just want you to know that we are not able to do this without your direct support. So the biggest, dopest TARODCAST thank you goes out to you. If you're listening in and you're thinking about becoming part of the TARODCAST Patreon family, we'd love to have you. You can find us at www.patreon.com/TARODCAST. Now on Patreon, we have 3 tiers of support: a $2 tier, a $3 tier, and lastly, a $6 tier. Each tier comes with its own set of unique perks. So if you find one that fits you, sign up. For us, the main thing is keeping our subscription prices affordable. We know that you work hard for your money, and if you choose to support TARODCAST this way, we truly want to make it worth your time. To find out more about our Patreon and the perks with each tier, visit www.patreon.com/TARODCAST. We've got it all laid out for you. Also, we've got a merchandise store. Pick up some tees, hoodies, leggings, and more at forevercertain.redbubble.com. All proceeds go right back into the TARODCAST podcast and allow us to keep making high-quality content for people just like you. For our listeners out there who would like to support us in a non-monetary way, we'd love that too. Share our show with people you know. Also, share us on your social media. And if your favorite TARODCAST streaming service allows you to rate and review our show and you're loving what you're hearing, take some time and leave us a 5-star review. Ratings and reviews are what set us apart from other podcasts and also helps us to recommend our podcast to other listeners we otherwise wouldn't have the opportunity to reach. Lastly, if you'd like to reach out to us directly, email us at TARODCAST@CRTN-T.com. That's TARODCAST@CRTN-T.com. All of this information can always be found in our episode notes, so make sure to check there if you forget any of the information we just went over. Once again, thank you all so much, and let's get back to the program. All right, y'all. Welcome back to TARODCAST. This is your host, Tarod Rashad, and we are now going to get back into the show. So, right before we went on a commercial break, I was talking about this movie called The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. And this was a movie that me and my then girlfriend, now wife, went to go see at the theater in Oklahoma City, Dollar Theater in Oklahoma City. And this movie starred Ben Stiller. He was a middle-aged man, and basically, short synopsis of the movie, he is on eHarmony, and he is looking to try and find love with a woman that actually works at his job, but he doesn't have the courage to speak to her, so he's going to try and do it online. Well, he's struggling with what to put on his eHarmony profile to make him more interesting. And all the while he's working, at this company who produces magazines, they're basically being taken over and about to be shut down, and layoffs are about to happen. So, basically, he is responsible for a picture that is supposed to be on the cover of the last issue of that magazine. Well, he can't find the picture. And so the photographer is a guy who is known for always just doing things in such an outlandish way, and he only communicates with Ben Stiller's character. And so what Ben Stiller has to do, he actually has to find that picture, but he has to go out and also find that photographer who's like way out in another country. So he goes on this big adventure, not only trying to find the photographer in order to make the last issue of that magazine the best thing it can be since he's lost the picture, but he's also going and traveling and getting into all these different things and finding himself. He's doing things that are completely uncharacteristic of his meek and lowly character. And in doing so, he's adding more pieces. He's adding more adventure. He's adding more growth and development to his own life story. And in doing so, it's almost like he's also able to fill out his eHarmony page as well. You see him traveling and transitioning and becoming more rough and rugged. You see how his countenance changes from the meek and lowly type character to the I've actually been through some things and I have a sense of purpose and adventure in my life. And long story short, he ends up getting the girl. He ends up finding the picture. He ends up finding the photographer on top of this mountain, and he's filming snow leopards and whatnot. And it's a wonderful movie. You can't necessarily trust the Rotten Tomatoes score on that, because it is a feel good movie, and that's all it's designed to be. But that movie really, really stuck out to me and changed me, because for one, it was a movie with a long title. So The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, I'm like, yeah, come on. When it comes to most black people, unfortunately, we're not going to watch movies with long titles and white people in it, because after that, I remember watching, I remember that years before I had watched another movie called Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist. And that's one of my favorite movies as well. Not because I just love Kat Denning, but because I love the adventure of it all. And so I was like, you know what? Maybe there's something to movies that have long titles. I don't know. But one of the things that I realized is that these movies are typically not black actor and actress led movies. They're not, because a lot of these movies, and just a lot of cinema in general, when it comes to the type of movie that it is, when it comes to being like a feel good movie with a plot that is somewhat light, or maybe there's a little bit of struggle, or maybe there's a little bit of contempt in there, but it's not the main focus. You know, the focus is the adventure, the focus is the growth, the focus is seeing a character transition from one point of life, from one state of being into a higher or more fulfilled state of being. We don't see that a lot with black actors and actresses. We don't. And I would love to see more adventures that are black led, where it doesn't have to be this fight or this struggle with injustices all the time, where we can actually see black American life portrayed in a normal way. You know, I think about the show Insecure, and it's a really good show. I love that show. And you see, you know, black people here living normal life, dealing with normal interpersonal issues. And I really enjoy that, because it's not beating me over the head with this consistent portrayal of being down and out, or being enslaved in chains, or, you know, just things like that. It's like, no, I actually get to see black people living. And I think that is important for us, and also our mindset, because the more we continue to be exposed to things that keep reminding us of the pain of our past, the less likely we are to actually reconcile with that. Now, I'm not saying that I want us to forget all of this. No, what I'm saying is that when it comes to dealing with how we are and how we came to be, yes, I believe that for us, we need to know that these things happened. But to be constantly reminded, it's like basically you know, what's a good example? Let's say, okay, we have a couple and they get into an argument, and one of the members of this relationship actually steps out and cheats on the other person. And in doing so, the other person actually finds out, they confront them, and, you know, they argue, and then, you know, sometime later they reconcile. But the person who was cheated on continues to bring it up all the time. And it's like, I understand that I did that, it was wrong, and, you know, I've moved past it because I want to be with you. But, you know, at every moment, with every argument or whatever the case is, this person brings it up and brings it up and brings it up. And it's just like, I know that this pain is something that I caused, and I am so sorry. But you know, I want to move forward. I want to build with you. I want to never experience that pain again. I want to never put you through that pain again. And it's like, you want to drive home that message, but it keeps getting brought up time and time again. And it's like, you know what? Yes, you made a mistake. And you're actually owning that mistake, and you are owning the fact that you have another chance that's been granted when you didn't have that chance before. And you want to make things better. You want to make life better. You want to make this relationship, yourself and your partner, better. But with every argument, it's like, but you cheated on me though. And it's like, come on. You know, and the thing is, I'm not saying that any of this is right. This is just more so an illustration of what it's like when I keep seeing and keep hearing that more and more slave movies are going to be brought up and created. And I'm just like, come on. Like we know that this is our history. We know this pain all too well. We know, like, to be honest, I still can't even watch When They See Us. And I'm not saying that was a bad series. I just don't think it was made for me. It wasn't made for me. You know, like the story of the Central Park Five is like, that was not made for me. And when I say this, I don't say this from the standpoint of like I'm better than this or anything. It's just like, no, this pain is already ingrained in my life. So this wasn't made for me. This was made for people who don't know what our pain looks like or feels like. And so that could be another person who looks like me. It could be somebody who looks completely different, but it's made for them. I already know this pain. What I want to know now is what it's like for someone who looks like me to go on an adventure, to learn something about themselves that they couldn't learn if they were still cooped up in their circumstances. Something that pulls a black person out of this box and transports them somewhere else. That's what I want to learn about. And I want it to be something that allows that person to grow and to truly dive deep into who they are, to pull out a sort of magic that they wouldn't have been able to find or experience or capture if they stayed in their current circumstance. That's the movie that I want to see next. I want to see more of that, because white people can do this all the time. Hell, you know, self-discovery movies like Lady Bird exist. And I actually watched a good amount of that. And that movie, I mean, it's a good movie, but it's boring as hell. But that exists. So why can't we have our own self-discovery movies? You know, movies that actually fill us up with something. Because that's desperately needed. Because if we don't have that, we are going to continue holding on to pain for the rest of our cinematic lives. And that's not good. So we're going to wind down the show, y'all. We're going to take our last break. Make sure you have your water close by, and we'll be back to sum it all up. This is TARODCAST. All right, y'all. Welcome back. We are going to go ahead and begin the conclusion of our show, because we honestly need to see more black movies that allow us to just go on an adventure, or allow us to just explore different things about ourselves that we never had the opportunity to explore. So, you know, there are a lot of things about us that we continue to rehash and replay and just drill all the time. And there are so many layered things about us that we barely take the time to tap into. One of the things that I know that me and my wife discuss all the time is, you know, when are we going to see more things about black people with mental illness? There is actually a movie coming out called Words on Bathroom Walls, I believe, and the trailer just released. And this is based on a book, but it's about a young man with schizophrenia, and he is a white male. And you see, if you watch the trailer, you see how it's done in this almost like fantastical way, but we get that what he's dealing with is schizophrenia. And so my thing is when it comes to these types of stories, it's like you always see white people doing it and being free in doing it. And so why can't black people do the same thing? Are we scared of being that free? Are we nervous of what that could look like? Are we timid because of the backlash that maybe other black people wouldn't be able to understand this level of creative freedom to express a story that is so fantastical it goes against the norm of what we're used to? Like, what's the deal? What's the deal? Because the last thing that I saw that was actually fantastical, that I loved, that was made and specifically done by a black person was Sorry to Bother You. And as someone who works in a call center, that movie actually, it was wow. If you haven't seen Sorry to Bother You, Boots Collins did a wonderful, wonderful job with that. But that is one of the only movies, other than maybe Eve's Bayou, that I've seen where it was completely fantastical in its approach. And I don't think those movies get enough credit for being as fantastical as they are, because, oh my God, they literally transported me somewhere else, and I loved every moment of it. And we need more stories like that. And we need more black feel-good movies. You know, another one of my favorite feel-good movies is Chef with Jon Favreau and John Leguizamo and Sofia Vergara, and even Robert Downey Jr. is in there. It's a really good movie, and it's a movie about a chef, a disgruntled chef who decides to go cross country with a food truck and take his son with him. It's such a good movie. And we need more movies like this for us, because how long are we going to keep pushing the pain narrative? How long are we going to keep trying to force people to recognize our pain? Why do we need other people to recognize it so much anyway? Like, I say this, I don't say this to say that it's unimportant. I don't say this to say that the pain that we have endured and the pain that has birthed us is something that is just, we need to just sweep it under the rug. I'm not saying that, but we're always reinventing new ways to display the same pain. But when are we going to open our mind to start realizing that we can actually live in a way where we can have our own adventures that are outside of that pain, where we can actually create art that is outside of that pain? Because we can talk about black boy joy and black girl magic and all this stuff, but if we still keep subscribing to the pain narrative, it means nothing. It means nothing. And we'll continue to make more and more slave movies, because we can't let go of the fact that we need white people to know that they were a part of slavery. I'm like, no, we don't need any more of that. We need we need the black Nick and Nora's Infinite playlist. We need the black Walter Mitty, Secret Life of Walter Mitty. We need the black Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. We need, the black Lord of the Rings. We need, we need the things that propel us into a land or a world or a situation that is completely foreign to us, but it stars us. And it's about us. And we're learning more about ourselves in that. We need that, whether it's set in a modern setting or a futuristic setting or Wakanda or whatever. We need that desperately. Because I am tired. I am tired of hood movies. I am tired of slave movies. I'm tired of movies where it's all about pain and suffering. Because when are we ever going to smile? When are we ever going to just look at life and just let go? When are we ever going to do something out of the ordinary? When is there going to be a movie about a black English as a second language teacher going to China and being so immersed in the culture that, you know, he or she becomes, you know, this figure that inspires a big group of Chinese kids? When are we going to have something like that, you know? It wasn't the Karate Kid with Jaden Smith, even though that was also another black feel good. I should have mentioned that because I really like that one too. But I'm just like, when are we gonna have more of that? Because yeah, I would spend my money to go see that. I would, you know, and you know what? Even a movie like Black Klansman was really, really good, you know. And it's just like, when are we, but even that was done in a very artistic way, you know, when it comes to the subject matter of it. Yes, but it was really well done. So we need more of that. We need more things that are black and well done, that go against our regular norm, because if we can actually start getting outside of that box, oh my God, like, we will have such a plethora of movies that will allow all black people of all different types of mindsets and backgrounds to allow them to latch on to. Because I even think about black nerds. I'm like, we need this stuff for us too. We need that futuristic or that adventurous stuff for us too. You know, we need that. We cannot allow ourselves just to be burdened and bogged down by our pain all the time. We're more than that. And so in understanding that we're more than that, we also owe it to ourselves to ensure that when it comes to our stories, we are the ones who are telling them. If you go back and you look at a lot of black movies or black stories, you'll oftentimes find that the writers are white or they're not black at all. You'll find that the directors are white or they're not black at all. And that is another travesty. When it comes to black creators and black art, it's like so many people study us to where they do things about us better than we do. How is that? That is a travesty. How are other people going to come up with black stories and they're not black? But you know what? It's because we're studied. It's because our lives are studied so much, and the anthropological research being done to study us is out there, and they have no shame in doing so when it comes to collecting material for the narrative that they're creating. And so, yeah, you'll see. And I challenge you, go on IMDb and look at some of your favorite black movies and look up the writers and the directors. I guarantee you at least a good 80% of them are non-black. And that's saying a lot. That is saying a whole lot. So we need to step up as a whole. No more slave movies. Let's start making things that actually give us feelings that will allow us to be transported into another realm of thinking. That's what we need. We need that desperately. I know I do. And so with that being said, y'all, that's our show. You all know how to find us and how to support us. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review and also take the conversation to our throne room. Links, just like everything else, are going to be in the show notes. Now, I just want to say again, thank you all so much just for listening to my show. We're actually approaching 700 listens, and I'm really excited about that. So again, thank you all so much. Don't forget about Patreon. Support me on Patreon. And wherever you are, whomever you are, I want to always encourage you to be more introspective and vulnerable with yourself. Know who you are, trust in who you are, and love who you are. I've been your host, Tarod Rashan. This has been another episode of TARODCAST. Thank you once again. And as always, make sure that you make every effort to find and keep your peace. Till next time.